So this next question is about the applicant, patentee, wondering how they get to know more about their patent examiner. And kind of the process when you file a patent application is it gets assigned to an individual that has a technical background in the area in which you are trying to get a patent. So it'll get routed to that person or that group, and ultimately you have one individual, the examiner, who's looking at your patent application in a gatekeeper role to try and decide whether or not you have something that's new and worthy of a patent. So there's typically argument that goes back and forth with this individual. And I get clients all the time that are just crushed. It happened to me just this week where they were crushed because their patent application was rejected. Well, 85% of the time when you file your patent application, it will be rejected. It's very rare, actually, for it to float through, and when it does, you're kind of wondering if you left something on the table. So don't get despondent when you find your patent application has been rejected. What you want to do is you want to formulate your arguments, but key to that is knowing which examiner you're dealing with and a little bit about them. And if you just Google the examiner's name, patent examiner XYZ, there are some folks that have put some reports online, some limited reports online that are free. With the triangle tool, we give those statistics at least in a limited form, so you can kind of get an idea what's going on, because when you interact with that examiner, you got to know who you're dealing with. Are you dealing with somebody who's been doing this for a long time, or is relatively new? Is it somebody that tends to allow cases normally, or doesn't? So I had this happen to me for the same client that was dejected when both of their patent applications were initially rejected, and we found one examiner had an allowance rate of 55%, and what's average at the patent office is around 70%. It's a little bit tougher than normal, but workable. And had been at the office for 14 years, very experienced, probably going to be a pretty normal interaction with somebody that experienced, and kind of within norms when it comes to allowance rate. But the second case, and these cases were very similar, went to an examiner who had never allowed a case. And she had only been at the office for a short while, only had handled less than 100 cases, and hadn't found one worthy of allowance. And fundamentally, you're going to treat those two circumstances differently, right? The examiner who hasn't allowed a case or has a really low allowance rate is going to think about things differently than, I had an examiner that I talked to this morning that had a 90% allowance rate. And they're just different conversations. And between knowing a little bit about your decision maker, your examiner, and reviewing the feedback that they've given you when they issue their rejection, which they almost always do, arms you with the best information so that you can come back with the strategy that's going to be a winning strategy to get your patent allowed as easily as possible. So I hope that helps. And the stuff online, be wary of that. Some of them are updated regularly, some are not updated very regularly. But the commercial tools certainly are updated on a regular basis and have a lot more functionality. So, of course, our tool provides that information, but there are many other tools out there that'll give you little insights into the mind of the person that's serving as this gatekeeper to decide whether or not your innovation is worthy of a patent or maybe caught in a gravity storm at the patent office. So anyway, hope that answers the question. If you have any follow-up, please put it in the comments below or add your own question and we'll get to it in a future video. Thank you.